As you know, I was in litigation for approximately 11 years, and it was all civil litigation relating to my company. And in the beginning, we went through 18 audits and investigations and several efforts by a variety of parties to falsely frame us. We were very lucky, caught it. It's all described in great detail in the resource section of an article I wrote called Dylan Reed. It's really an online book called Dylan Reed and the Aristocracy of Stock Profits. And uh, anyway, but there was one point where we had sued the federal government. The federal government owed my company several $1 million and had refused to pay. And we had been the lead financial advisor for the HUD loan sale program. And there had been a mistake made by a subcontractor on one of the bids that it had no cash impact on the government, but the government had decided to use this as a pretext anyway. So we were in a situation where I was being deposed by the Department of Justice, and we were talking about highly complex financial engineering on billion-dollar mortgage sales. And we had hired AT&T Bell Laboratories to take the model that they used to route telephone calls to optimize mortgage loan sale bids, essentially. And we were talking about the, sort of the details of this optimization methodology. So this was a deposition on a very arcane and very technical and very financially complex issue, all of which had no cash impact on anything, which was the depressing thing about it. But again, in the government, fights like this are never about what the fight is about. Anyway, so I went into the deposition, and frankly, complex financial stuff is, the love of my life. And so, of course, I was in my element. And I came in with two attorneys, one who I had hired and the other who had been hired by the insurance company. And there was a lot of potential conflicts of interest in that relationship. Anyway, so we came in, and the Department of Justice started to ask me questions, and my attorney and I started to squabble about how I was handling it. And so we went outside and we had a little squabble, and there was a lot of tension. I came back in. It's the only time this has ever happened to me. I came back into the room, and suddenly there was a blue light that came down, and it was at the edge of the blue light. It was surrounded, it was almost like a crystal, a crystal edge. I thought of it in my mind like a crystal palace. And I have to tell you, I've never felt so wonderful in my whole life. I felt just full of energy. I felt mentally clear. I was in a very high mind. And I proceeded for the next many, many hours to answer all the questions. My attorneys didn't say a word. And I've never enjoyed myself as much as I did that day, answering all these questions on and on and on. And when it was all over, the attorneys on the other side were completely depressed. And I walked out of the room with the attorneys, and both of them turned to me at the same time and said, "That's the single most amazing thing I've ever seen in my life." So apparently I'd done a very good job. Anyway, so many, many years later, and it was a couple years ago this happened, I was talking with Franklin Sanders, who joins me for the Precious Metals Market Report on the Solari report. He had been in the litigation with the federal government for many years that was also very sort of dangerous and tense. And he was talking about it, and he said to me, the funniest thing happened at the worst time in the trial. His case had gone to trial. He said, I was just sitting there, and this blue light came down, and he proceeded to describe the same dynamic. And I just shook my head, and I said, I don't know what the blue light is, or I don't know exactly what, how this happens. But the one thing I know is whoever's in charge of that blue light, I want to make sure that I stay in good with them. And I'm always telling people, don't worry about what the bad guys are up to. You need to do whatever you need to do so that you get support from the guys who control the blue light. So, yeah, there it is.